All right, Kevin, hope you're doing well, man. I'm sorry I said that I might send you a video yesterday. I'm sorry to say it just got away from me. So I just remembered tonight, think a little bit about your golf swing, hoping that things are going well. So want to talk a little bit about some of the questions you were asking me in regard to your swing versus, I think it was Cameron Davis. Looks like you're probably taking a look at a lot of PGA Tour swings, and you're noticing what most people do when they start taking a close look, which is that at Impact particularly, PGA Tours look a little different from most of the people that play on the weekends, even good ones like yourself. So I've got with me a great training aid and a alignment rod, and we're going to use it in a couple different ways here actually. So I think I said in my email to you, some of the stuff that I had mentioned to you were things that we should work on in relation to, basically getting a little bit better arm structure at the top. The purpose of that was so the club would get a little bit further and deeper behind you. I mentioned, I think in that email, kind of the three things that are really important for you if you want to basically get open at impact, which is how we describe that position that you're noticing. This looking a little bit like this, where your hips are about 45 degrees open to target, some a little more, some a little less. Your shoulders about 15 or 20 degrees open. Most of their arms, their forearm line is still going to be square or just slightly to the right of the target, but that differs a little bit from player to player, as you'll see. So the things you need to get open again are, we need sufficient arm depth, which means our lead arm deep enough behind us, just to describe the term. So back behind us far enough so that as we start to turn and rotate this way, that club doesn't spin out in front of us when we hit nasty cuts, as I'm sure you've experienced before. So we need sufficient arm depth. That's really important. And you are in pretty good shape there, actually. You don't need a ton more arm depth, but in transition, sometimes you would pull the club outward a little bit early, and causing some things to happen a little bit later. So that was why a little bit better arm structure to maintain that depth so that when we get into transition, that club falls in a little bit more behind you. The other thing that we had mentioned for you to work on, right, was to essentially get a little bit more coil in your backswing. And so the purpose of that, again, is sort of related to the arm depth. So the more that we're tensing, getting a little bit straightening this way, has the impact of your lead arm getting a little bit further behind you. It also is just good for your general pivot and turn, create a little bit of energy, which we're storing up here, which we can then use to turn and really start slamming through the ball, using our ground forces a little bit more effectively. So, so I just want to mention how the things that we've been talking about so far, we're kind of actually working towards, as you noted, some of the looks to look a little bit more like a PGA Tour player. So, okay. So again, I started to go through, I'm sorry, it's a little disjointed, but the three things that you needed to get open. Okay, so we need sufficient arm depth, which was what basically getting this arm behind us, what coiling a little bit better and maintaining our tilts was, and getting that club then to shallow a little bit better. And the reason that the shallowing piece is important is that if you get the club moving outward early, right, this way, what we need to do then to get back to the ball and hit it in the direction that we're going for it, if we don't do that, if we keep spinning and turning it, oh, sorry, Tony, oh my goodness, buddy. Sorry, big guy. Okay, hopefully you didn't see that. Buddy, can you come over here? Come here, Duncan. Come here, big guy. Come here, Duncan, come here. Come here, Pop. Okay, sit. Okay, good boy. Stay. Sit. Okay, sorry, Kevin. My bad. Okay, so if you, hey, stay over here, buddy. Stay over here. Okay. So if you get the club moving outward, you continue to spin this way without adjusting, you'll hit the ball dead left. Okay. If you, say, are somebody who gets the club out this way, and I'm exaggerating for effect, of course your golf swing doesn't get this steep, but if you were to get a little bit steep here, the way that most people do adjustments to get the ball back to where they want to, they slow down. They slow down the pivot of their body, and they start to back up. When they start to slow down and stand up very slightly, you can see the club starts to drop back behind you, basically shallowing the club for you late in your golf swing. So you did that a very moderate degree, the amount that a good player would do it, right? So you got a little bit too steep here. Your body knew it and sensed it and knew some of the things that you've done for years and years to manage that, which is slow down a little bit, hang back, and do a little bit of this. So a little bit of chest tilt backwards, a little bit of flippage. And that probably led to some times in your life when you would feel like, man, I'm hanging in there, I'm not flying through the ball, and I'm hitting some okay kind of hooks, maybe ones that would start just right edge of the fairway and hook it back, but felt maybe a little short distance-wise because you weren't really compressing the ball the way that you were capable of. So anyway, so that's why getting the club to be a little bit more shallow means that from there we can just use our energy this way and continue firing and turning through the ball that way. You've actually, I think, experienced some of that, right? And doing a little bit more coil, stretching out this way, getting your arm depth a little bit better, meaning that as you started down, the club was a little bit more shallow. And in me encouraging you a little bit, hey, let's fire through that ball, let's turn positively. You realized, hey, if I get the club shallow and behind me, I can really, whip and turn on this thing. I think that is a big piece of the puzzle for why you're experiencing that increase in miles per hour, I would imagine. So, okay, so again, the three kind of pieces we're looking for: a little bit better sufficient arm depth, get the club a little bit more shallow on the way through, and then the last piece, which is just really important, that we have the face closed in relation to the target. So that's why, when you get a chance, I want to take a good look at some of those slow-mo videos. It's hard for me to exactly see the club face. I feel pretty confident that you actually have the club face pretty well under control. Looks like it's basically square or slightly shut in relation to the path, so I'm not too concerned about that piece. So I think you're trending in the direction of being able to get yourself a little more open at impact. Okay, so what is the overall value of getting a little bit more open at impact? Well, as you're experiencing, can lead to a little bit of increased miles per hour. If we can get things organized properly, by which I mean we have sufficient arm depth, we got some shallowness, we got the face under control, we can really use our energy to turn and go. That has some additional benefits besides speed. It also means that there's this kind of complicated concept called rate of closure that has some detractors. Basically, it's related to the concept that, we're getting down in the weeds here, man, but that this club has what's called like a center of mass, meaning like the balance point of this club, okay? So there is this physics concept that says that if you have a balance point that gets kicked in behind you this way, and then it gets sped up as it goes this way, that this club will intrinsically want to speed up and square this way, right? So if you think about like a speedboat pulling a skier behind it, right? It swings out this way, the kind of center of mass gets that speedboater swinging out this way. What it means is that that club will intrinsically, or not intrinsically, that's probably the wrong word, but will use physics to want to snap back to square. So when you see those PGA Tour players that are using all of this energy to rip open with their bodies and do this, you actually see that the club face, I don't know how well you can see it from that angle, but it is very, very stable. Even if my body is open as much as I can, my hips are this way, you can still keep that club face from rotating a whole ton this way. Very, very quiet. So that's part of the ways that they're able to hit the ball as straight as they are. Okay, so how can you do that? One, as I said, you're actually somewhat on the path to doing that. Better arm structure up top. Make sure that we're not getting that club moving outward too early in transition. Allow that club to shallow, and then continue this moving through the ball. So with this alignment rod, there is another good drill that we can work on here. You basically take it. I have a training aid basically that we've created where you just like stick a alignment rod down inside the shaft of a club, but you can do literally this too, which is just put it underneath the hand here so that it's running down the shaft of the club. And as you do this at first, Kevin, it will be difficult. So you are going to hit some, half shots to 3/4 shots is the best way you can do it at first. So what you're going to do is you make some swings this way, you're going to make some swings this way. For you, because I know your golf swing a little bit, you're going to stall out just a little bit, not a ton, but this will hit you in the side. You will experience this whacking you in the side around. Doesn't hurt too bad, especially in these little half shots, but you'll go this little hit, you get that little bit of feedback that tells you, hey, I'm allowing my body to stall out a little bit. I probably don't want to do that. So you'll learn, what do I have to do to get this club out of my way? You have to continue doing what I just did there, which is rotating your hips, rotating your body this way to get this alignment rod out of the way and hit some shots. That's a good drill to mix in. I wouldn't say that it should replace necessarily anything else that you're doing in relation to stuff we talked about. I still want to see some pretty good arm structure here. Hopefully, and again, I just want to be clear about this. This arm structure piece here is not a means to an end, okay? There's people on the PGA Tour that have their arms slightly fair. Collin Morikawa, one of my favorite swings on tour, has his elbow probably right about there, okay? But what Collin Morikawa, JT is another one, does really brilliantly is in transition, his elbow goes like this, okay? So he absolutely shallows the club just about as good as you possibly can on the planet. So if you can do that from there, great. My goal is to get the club a little bit more shallow in transition, and I think that a little bit better arm structure will allow you to do that. But I just want you to know that that's not the end goal necessarily. It's a means to an end. So continue working on that. I would say continue as you are, I'm sure, working on just coiling a little bit better and probably in concert with this arm structure piece. And then maybe mix in some of this, right? So one thing that's good to know and important to know, right, is if we have increased your pivot and turn this way, right, if we are coiling a little bit more that way, straighten this leg very, very slightly, creating all this energy, it will require an equal, if not slightly increased amount of energy to whip and turn through, as I'm sure you've probably experienced here too. But you need to be cognizant of that. So if you start experiencing, man, I'm getting a little tired, I'm slowing down a little bit, I'm lazing into it, you're gonna hit some pretty bad shots. So it requires effort and energy and just this turn that you see through the ball. But comes with it some great gains. So man, that was a very long video. Hopefully I didn't over explain. Let me know if you have any questions, man, and hope you're doing well. Hope the golf journey is going well. So talk to you soon, man. Bye.